Hey guys, I was just going to show you a quick example of how to calculate a side length of an unknown rectangle for something that's unknown on the rectangle if given a surface area. So a question might look like this, where you're given a shape of a rectangle and you might know certain parts of it but not all of it. So an example might be, you might be able to say, hey, that's 5 meters, I know that. They're telling me that this is 7 meters, but they're not telling me how high this is. So my unknown might be how the height of this shape. So it's really important for us to kind of look at this and have the idea that essentially I know certain things about this rectangle. They will also tell you, when you get access to this information, they'll tell you that the total surface area for this shape might be something like 142 meters squared. So now I have some information. I know that surface area is 142. I know two of the sides. I don't know the third dimension for this prism. So given that information, I now need to turn around and really interpret what surface area means. Surface area, we figured out last video, talked about all 6 of these sides adding together to be 142 meters squared. So what I want you to do is recognize, or what I'm hoping you can recognize, is that when we look at this, this side is known and this side is known. So therefore, I can actually calculate the surface area for 2 of the 6 sides here. I can actually calculate the surface area for the bottom, because I know what it is, and the top, because I'll know what it is. So I can find the area of the top and the bottom by simply looking at them as being rectangles and recognizing that area will be 5 times 7. So I know my area for one of those sides is 35 meters squared. Now again, I also know that if I know the bottom side, I can know the top side as well, because I recognize it's exactly the same. So this time I'm just going to times it by 2 instead of doing 35 plus 35. So that means in total, the top and the bottom take up 70 meters squared of this 142. So that must mean there is about 72 meters squared left of space. And I got that simply by saying, well, if that's the case, then I should be able to take my 142 meters squared, which is the area for all 6 sides, take away that 70, which is the area for 2 of those sides, and that means I have leftovers of 72 meters squared. That 72 meters represents the front and the back and both sides. So I know that that 72 is made up of front and the back and the sides. So now all I got to do is just do a little bit of algebra to kind of solve things. So if I want to look at my front and back, and kind of get an idea in terms of what's going on there, my front and the back is simply going to look at this edge, and I'll start with the fronts. So I'm looking at this edge here being 5, and I'm looking at this other edge of my rectangle being my unknown. Now, to make life a little bit easier, rather than calling it an unknown, I'm going to give it a name, a variable, n. So now I know that this edge is going to be 5 times n. 5 times n is 5n, recognizing that I have a front and a back, so that's the same as saying 5n plus another 5n. In total, that would mean I'd have 10n. So my front and back is made up of 10 times an unknown number. My sides, I'm going to do the exact same way. I'm going to look at them and I'm going to say, well, my sides, I'll change my color here. My sides are going to be 7 by n. So I now know that the area is again a rectangle, so I'm going to go 7 times n, or 7 times n is 7n. I'm going to times that by 2 because there's a left side or right side and a left side. That means I have 14n. So again, we talked about up here that we said the front and the back plus my sides was equal to this 72. So I know this stuff all belongs together. So I know this 10n and this 14n combined to give me 72. So I can actually say a statement like 10n plus 14n will equal 72 meters squared. I still don't have a clue what n is yet in terms of number value, but I can now turn around and do some algebra. And we knew that 10n actually represented like 10 rectangles. 14n looks at the same as 14 rectangles when we're looking at pictures. So in total, I have 24 rectangles. And we know that that's equal to an area of 72 meters squared. So to solve this simply, all I want to do is get n by itself. Right now it's being multiplied by 24. So my solution is simply to divide both sides by 24. So these guys cancel. That leaves me with a single n. On this side, 72 divided by 24 is 3 meters. We lose the meters squared because theoretically this was these values of 7 and 5 up here. They're actually meters measurements, so this would be 10 meters times n meters to get an area. So I can actually end up getting a solution, and now I know if I go back up to my shape, I know this shape here is actually not an n anymore. I actually solved it to be 3. One of the ways that we could actually check this, if you wanted to make sure that you got the right answer, was to simply go back and find the surface area of all the pieces and see if it adds to 142 meters squared. If it does, we did it right. If it doesn't, then it's not. Thanks, guys.